Out of the ring, they're the best of friends, but these two Londoners, James Cook and Mark Kaylor, could well provide us with one of the fights of the year next Saturday when they battle for Cook's European super middleweight title. Both in their 30s, but both still looking up.
That's what I'm boxing for, is to become world champion. I'm not, you know, some people, some fighters, they set their goals to make as much money as they can. Well, that's always been like secondary to me, you know. I'd love to make some money, that'd be nice. I'd love to make, you know, a six-figure payday. But it's more important for me to become world champion. And right now I'm confident that I'm boxing as probably better than I've ever been boxing before.
You know, at the end of the day, me and Mark Kaylor, we're friends, you know, and we're great friends outside the ring, but I swear at the time we touch gloves, we'll switch off and concentrate on the job, and after, I'm sure we'll be friends as well.
Cook and Kaylor, now that's a difficult fight for each of them because they are mates, aren't they? Now that's like you stepping into a ring with Glenn now. I mean, briefly, awkward situation for both of them.
But I think in the case of those two, they're both like over 30 odd, and they're both at the latter part of their career. Remember Mark at one time, he was always firing, he'd have been having the fight out there, but now you see him sitting down drinking a cup of tea with an opponent. Whereas if you remember the Christie thing, like they were fighting out on the cobbles, he wouldn't take photos with him. So I think they're both old enough and wise enough to realise that, well, it's just a fight. They're in it, it's a business now, and they've passed that youthful stage where you want to just kill everybody sort of thing.
Well, quite a fight.
Yeah.
Not that you ever wanted to kill anybody, did you? But I understand what you mean. Yeah. James Cook, the European super middleweight champion, against Mark Kaylor. It's at the York Hall in Bethnal Green here in East London, and it's live on ringside next week. A fight that we can look forward to already.
Well, let me tell you something. If you notice at the end of the last round that we saw, at that time Terry was shouting at Mark that he needed to win the round big.
Terry Lawless.
Yes, Terry Lawless. So Mark spat out his gum shield, which is something you don't do as a fighter, just so that he could grit his teeth that little bit more and just go to war. And I think that is something that never leaves a fighter. So next week, Saturday night, watch out for that.
Difficult, as we said, because they're both mates, but prediction, who's going to win it?
This one is genuinely hard to predict because Mark can still punch, he's still got the heart and determination, yeah? The other guy, he's been known as a little bit chinny if he gets caught, but he also can punch. So I don't know, those who remember the Kaylor Christie fight, that I think we have something very similar where either man can win it, and they've both got everything to win and everything to lose.
Okay, so we didn't get the prediction again either. It was difficult, wasn't it? Gary Mason, thank you very much for joining us this week. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. We've seen some cracking action. Don't forget, Cook against Kaylor here on ringside, 8 o'clock next week. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Good evening, a very warm welcome to you from ringside. Tonight we're here at the York Hall in Bethnal Green for the European super middleweight title fight between James Cook, the champion from Peckham, and the challenger Mark Kaylor from just down the road in West Ham. There is a terrific atmosphere building up, as you might expect. We reckon it's going to be some fight. All the best of the action here on Sky Sports ringside. And it's a great pleasure to have Gary Mason, formerly the British heavyweight champion, with me once more. You know the atmosphere inside this hall, Gary, and how important it can be for any fighters. You're also a good friend of Kaylor's. Do you think the two mean that Kaylor can do something tonight and create a shock?
Well, there will be some sort of a shock by either fighter. Obviously, Kaylor has the home advantage in this case, but anything can happen.
With Cook, he's got some kind of a track record in the past couple of years, hasn't he?
Well, no, I think that their careers have been similar. They're at a similar stage in their careers. Both fighters can do things basically the same. It's just a matter of whose night it is tonight.
And who's going to lift the atmosphere and deal with the atmosphere the better. Gary, stay with us, I know you will. Let's take a look in some detail at what we have for you tonight. Good programme in all. First up, Mark Kaylor, age 30, out to prove he's still got the talent to destroy the dreams of James Cook, who believes at 32 he can still become a world champion. And Terry Marsh, who gave up his world title in 1987 because of epilepsy, making a shock comeback. Not allowed to fight here, he's going to the USA. Medical experts furious.
I hate for someone who has been at times a somewhat erratic, but nevertheless a good ambassador for boxing, to actually, in the long run, through naivety, damage boxing and his own health. And I would ask Terry to think very hard and maybe come back to this country and go back to the consultants he saw originally, or even to think on what they said, that he is more at risk than the average person.
The British light heavyweight champion Steve McCarthy is in big trouble. He could be banned from boxing after refusing to defend his title against Roy Skeldon in a row over money. McCarthy says he was protecting fighters' rights. Promoter doesn't. And for the world heavyweight champ Holyfield, fewer money worries. He's taking up movies. As if he needed the cash. Hagler's done it, so why doesn't the champion of the world turn his hand to making a bit of cash from the movies? You'll be next.
No, well, I'm not champion of the world. Why you are actually champion of the world, you haven't got the time to spare to make films. You can do bits and pieces, but you haven't got the time to spare at all.
So this is just a fill-in for Holyfield between bigger engagements, you think?
Yes, there's something to do in the meantime, isn't it?
Very quickly about Marsh, Gary, in case we don't get the time to come back to it later on. You've experienced the injury, shall I come back syndrome. What do you think about this Marsh comeback?
Well, remember, it was Marsh who firstly announced it himself. Nobody found it out. Marsh declared it because maybe at the time he felt that he'd done enough and he wanted to stop. Now he feels he wants to fight again. So the decision's his. If he's had it all the time before and it never affected him, there's no reason to say it will affect him in the future.
All right, we're actually going to talk a little more about Marsh in the news update a little later on in the programme. For now, let me introduce you to a couple of the other members of our team tonight. Very important at ringside, the former IBF Cruiserweight World Champion Glenn McCrory and our big fight commentator Ian Dart. Ian has followed the Kaylor progress virtually since the start of his professional career, and Ian, I wonder if tonight Kaylor, with all the experience of the years, can actually upset the form book. What do you think?
If you ask me, I would say no. I wouldn't bet on him winning this fight because Kaylor, I think, maybe just be getting a little bit shop-worn. This is the 48th fight of his career. It's the 5th time he's gone for European title. All the previous 4 have ended in failure. What about this fellow James Cook? British title, European title, a late developer. I think it's a fascinating fight, one of the most fascinating we've had in the whole series. Glenn McCrory, who's your money on?
Well, I think obviously Cook's going through the best stage of his career, but I still think that Mark Kaylor can maybe pull it off here tonight. I think he might have one good fight left in him.
Okay, we shall see. This fellow, Glenn McCrory, he thinks Mark Kaylor. I'm going for Cook, late stoppage or points, but I tell you what, Kaylor, with his back to the wall, his career on the line, is going to put up a blood and guts performance here. He's done it before. I think we're in for a thriller.
And that's what makes it such an interesting fight. Before we get under that one, we're going to get the action underway here at the York Hall in just a moment or two. The fight coming up was supposed to be the eliminator for the British light middleweight title between Andy Till and Terry McGee. But at the weigh-in today, neither boxer made the weight. And this is what happened. Weigh-in earlier at lunchtime. McGee on the right here, talking to Simon Block of the board. And Till, the crew cut boy, checked in very close to the weight, I can tell you. But McGee, 2 pounds over the 11-stone limit. There's Mark Kaylor in the foreground. McGee with the T-shirt. And after some toing and froing, they did agree to go ahead with the fight, but not, obviously, as an official eliminator. And 1 or 2 arguments going on, as you can see, about that. Gary Mason, let me ask you what you think about that. This was supposed to be an official eliminator for the light middleweight title. Neither fighter has made the weight.
That's a bad sign that both fighters preparing for an eliminator don't make the weight. As you said, Till wasn't that far away from it, so you can always allow for a pound or maybe 2, but it shows bad preparation that they didn't come in prepared for. They might not get another eliminator fight, and this is the chance for them to get a title fight, and it's a one chance. It's a major chance, so they're supposed to be in the best condition ever.
I think at least there is the chance in this case, Gary, that unofficially the winner will be promoted as a light middleweight of consequence. But they're going to be lucky, aren't they?
Yeah, but then the loser could also ask for another match for an actual eliminator again, because it's not an eliminator fight. That means it's just a fight, and that doesn't exclude them from being involved in another eliminator afterwards.
Sure. Let's go down to the dressing room, shall we, where Till is just getting his warming up together. Andy Till, well known to James Cook, is going to be centre stage a little later on. There he is. He's a sparring partner and very fast around the ring, light middleweight. Till and McGee then coming up shortly. They haven't made the weight, but they're certainly going to be in the ring very shortly. Join us again in just a minute or 2. We're going to take a little break and we'll be back with Till against McGee. See you in a second. Welcome back to ringside. We'll be taking a good look at both the principals tonight, Cook and Kaylor, in just a moment or two. First, our weekly boxing news update from around the world.
The unbeaten world light welterweight champion Terry Marsh shocked everyone in 1987 when he announced his retirement because of epilepsy, also resigning from his job as a fireman. Marsh hasn't fought since then, but now at the age of 33, he says he wants to make a comeback to try to regain the world title. He's got himself a license from the Nevada Commission in the USA. It'll be tougher for Marsh to fight in Britain, though. The authorities are dead set against.
I'm saying that his health could be at risk. Nobody can guarantee anything. But I think that he is taking a far greater risk than I would want him to. And the question he's got to ask himself is this. If he went back to the Marines or to the fire service and asked them, in the light of his past history, whether he would be fit enough to take part or to go back to his previous occupations, I think the answer would have to be no. Now, with respect to the firefighting services, that is not as risky as going in the ring and putting your head on the line.
You've been quoted as saying that a blow to the head could trigger off a problem. So clearly there is a huge risk to Marsh.
I think there is an increased risk. I'm not sure how huge it is, but certainly the neurologists I've spoken to would be very reluctant to allow him back and take that chance. It may not be immediate. It may be in 10, 20, 30 years' time. But I don't want statisticians in the future to damn boxing yet again through one person's naivety.
It's not just the board who want to discourage Marsh. Rod Douglas had to have surgery for a clot on the brain after fighting Harold Graham for the British middleweight title. He won't fight again, and he doesn't want to see Marsh taking the risk either.
Also, Terry Marsh has got epilepsy, and I think he's a very foolish man if he's going to continue fighting again, because he's done his ultimate aim, or every boxer's dream and aim, and he's achieved that. He's become undefeated world champion. To continue fighting again in the condition, or with the condition that he's got, just isn't worth it, because I can't see the aim, I can't see where his goals are going to be. If he's already been world champion and he's undefeated, he's got nothing to go for. And his life, I would have thought, was more important to him than trying to go through the whole rigmarole again, you know, of becoming a world champion. He's done it already.
I would ask Terry to think very hard and maybe come back to this country and go back to the consultants he saw originally, or even to think on what they said, that he is more at risk than the average person or the average boxer. However minute that risk is, it is a greater risk. And is it really worth it? Because he's a personality, he can earn a lot of money elsewhere, and I would hate to see him lose that money and possibly his well-being for the future.
And with all the money that you could earn in the sport, I mean, you can get some good purses these days. It just isn't worth it. You know, I'm quite happy as I am. I'd sooner be running about playing football with the children than sitting in a wheelchair looking like a vegetable or something like that. Or what's the point of trying to making the aim of earning some more extra money, and you're not in any condition to spend it?
No love lost between Mike Tyson and Razor Ruddock. Ruddock offered to stand aside at a price to clear the way for Tyson to meet Evander Holyfield. Now their rematch is on June 28th. The champion Holyfield continues to enjoy his celebrity status, but even in his time off can't avoid taking the odd knock as a movie star in the American football picture Necessary Roughness. Holyfield loves the game, but admits he's chosen the right career.
Football is something that I always wanted to do, but just at the time, high school, I was 110 pounds in the 10th grade, and the coach just didn't give me an opportunity. I don't think I feel so good. I think I swallowed a finger.
Back here, a champion in very hot water after the fight which didn't happen. The British light heavyweight title holder Steve McCarthy could be banned or stripped of his title after showing up for the weigh-in for his defence against Roy Skeldon in Birmingham,
12 stone, 6 pounds.
but then refusing to go into the ring. McCarthy furious at being offered £1,500 extra in TV appearance money. The promoters say he should have honoured his contract. McCarthy says he was exploited and he was doing a service for all professional fighters. Either way, the fight was cancelled. The British board await his explanation on June the 12th. A third instalment in one of the best ring rivalries of recent times. Dennis Andries ordered to defend his WBC World Light Heavyweight title against Jeff Harding of Australia. And more immediately in Las Vegas on Monday, a chance for the WBA Light Heavyweight World Champion Virgil Hill to emerge as a big star. The opponent for his 11th title defence, Tommy the Hitman Hearns. At 32, is Hearns past it, or does he still have the magic that earned him 5 world titles at different weights?
A hero for so many down the years, Tommy Hearns. Hearns in a minute, Gary, but first of all, a little more on Marsh. Your feelings?
One thing I must say for Marsh, the difference between Marsh boxing before and now is that he knows that he's got something the matter. Before, he might not have known. And there are two things that can't be satisfied. Lust for power or glory, and lust for money. And it seems like Marsh, like most other boxers, got the lust for the glory, and that cannot be satisfied.
Okay, finally in a word about Hearns. What about Hearns? Is it one fight too many?
No, I think this is the one before the last.
Okay.
And then the Andres and Harding fight, I may predict an Harding victory. At this stage.
Okay, well I hope Dennis Andries is not watching.
Doesn't matter, I'm a heavyweight.
All right. Right, now let's start the build-up to the main event of the evening. James Cook against Mark Kaylor, the European super middleweight title. First, Kaylor, perhaps in his twilight years now, and while no longer the fresh athlete of the early 80s, he still has the heart and the courage to cause an upset, and he's determined to prove his critics that he's not finished with boxing yet.
The West Ham boy is back and on home territory and determined to prove that a star middleweight of the 80s can become a champion at super middleweight in the 90s. Kaylor's seen just about everything this game can throw at you, here and in the States, and though he's had his share of ring battles, the commitment remains total.
I've been boxing now as a pro for 11 years, you know. It's not hard for me because I love the game. I love boxing, right? So that's where some people might be past it at 30 years of age. I'm not one of them. I'm not finished.
He's a good fighter, James Cook, especially from the way he's come through the ranks. Like, as you, no disrespect to him, but he was always an opponent. But for what he's done, British and European champion, he's even got more respect for doing it the way he's done it, and we're expecting a very hard fight. And all I can say, Mark's prepared for it.
Bare facts detail a career which earned British and Commonwealth middleweight titles, but they don't betray the courage. This will be his 6th major championship fight. Every time, he's given everything.
The tension now almost unbearable. And Kaylor spits out his gum shield. The perfect climax to a major title fight. The pair of them very nearly sold out. It's all a lot closer than it was earlier.
A close decision against Kaylor, but ever since, he's been reaching out for championships.
Amazingly determined man, you know, he's chopped and changed all around the world. There's no such thing as adversity where he's concerned. You know, he's going to win at all costs. That's Kaylor's, you know, outlook on life.
Nobody doubts, Gary, the courage of Kaylor, but Drayton, Simpson, Graham, Collins and Galvano, all big fights in Kaylor's career. He's lost them all, the big fights.
Those fights have had no hostility. When there's been hostility, i.e. Gums and Christie, he's won those. There's no hostility tonight.
You believe he can do it tonight. Now for Cook. Cook, 32 years of age now, the European champion. A mixed career, you'd have to admit that. 24 fights, 16 victories, but 8 defeats. And even he admits that not too many people had heard of him until he won that European title. Now, all falling into place. Biggest dream is to become the world champion.
The story of James Cook is of patience rewarded. Now aged 32, finally he starts to pick up reward for years of dedication, mostly in the shadow of other big-name fighters. Maybe Cook missed out on opportunities through being too dangerous an opponent for his own good. He certainly spent years of his career at middleweight travelling Europe just to stay busy. He held down a full-time job back home as a youth officer and earned extra cash as a sparring partner for Mark Kaylor.
I expect it to be a hard fight, a tough fight, and I expect Mark to put up the best performance because he's going to think, hey, I used to pay this guy to spar with me. Now I'm giving a crack of my title. So it's going to be a good fight, and at the end, I'm keeping my title.
It all began falling into place for Cook when he'd stepped up to super middleweight. He'd created one upset, winning the British crown in Belfast, when once more he went travelling, this time to Paris, to fight Pierre-Franck Winterstein for the European title. It was all there from Cook on this night. He proved his courage in the higher weight division, getting up from a 9th round knockdown, and thanks to supreme conditioning, bossed the closing rounds before putting Winterstein away. It went down as an even bigger surprise, but when people began to study the quality of the decisive uppercut, they began to believe what Cook and his handlers had always said, that he could yet become a world champion.
James Cook's a very dedicated man as a fighter. He's a clean living boy. As you know, he works with kids. He's a family man. I've got no worry about when he goes away from the gym, like some, about what discos I might be going on the way home. He's just a clean living fella, dedicated to the game of being a champion. That's why he's become British champion and European champion.
I've waited so long, I've worked hard, and like I say, at the end of the day, if you say to a person, who is James Cook, I don't even think my next door neighbor know I do boxing. You know, that's the joy about it. You know, I could do what I want, and this is my title. I work hard for it. There's no way I'm going to give it up just like that.
They're both true professionals, and when they get in and that bell goes, believe me, you'll never think they ever like one another at all. This is going to be one of the fights of the year, no doubt about it. My man within 8 or 9 rounds.
Gary Mason, all the time you were around the same rings as Cook, he's now aged 32. Did you ever see big titles inside James Cook?
I've always seen Cook as an opponent-like person, but now he's a champion. He's done a lot now of late, and he's not going to give anything away.
You like that uppercut punch of his?
Well, we're going to have to watch for the uppercut from Cook and the overhand right from Kaylor.
Okay, Gary.
Keep your eyes on it.
Yeah. Keep your eyes on it, folks. Big fight time. Let's join our commentators, Glenn McCrory, and first, Ian Dark for Kaylor against Simpson.
Well, this should be some fight. Certainly Kaylor-Simpson was a pretty good fight back in the mid-80s. It's Kaylor-Cook, of course, tonight. Cook. And there is Mark Kaylor coming out for the 48th time and for his 6th title fight tonight. A British and a Commonwealth champion at middleweight, but never, so far, a European champion. He's failed in 4 European title attempts at 3 different weights, Kaylor. But I've watched this fellow right the way through his career, right back to the days of 1980 when he was fresh out of the Olympics and became a professional. And believe me, he's always been tremendous value for money, and that's why he's had such a massive following in East London. High-profile career. Kaylor's been a star, but his star has been on the wane of late, it has to be said. And here, he needs to resurrect things. If he loses this one, it just might be the end of the road for him. Coming out to the Bubbles tune, which accompanies the West Ham football team. Of course, they got promoted to the First Division. That's where Kaylor is looking to get back to himself, boxing's First Division. Now, here comes Cook. Harry Holland, Brian Lawrence ahead of him. Cook, in complete contrast to Kaylor, has had a very low-profile career, just a journeyman, it was thought, an opponent. But suddenly, rather in the fashion of Dennis Andries, things have started to blossom for him late on. He went away to win a British title in Belfast against Sam Story. He went away again to Paris to beat the highly respected Pierre-Franck Winterstein, the French gypsy, knocking him out with that tremendous shot you saw in the 12th round, the right uppercut. Have to watch that shot tonight. And here's Cook on his way now to make the first defence of the European Super Middleweight Championship and a world title opportunity beckoning for the winner. How does he look to you, Glenn?
He looks very well. He looks well prepared, psyched up. It should be a fabulous fight.
All the makings that this one has got the ingredients to provide something special. We can't guarantee it, you never can, but Kaylor fights have often been very, very entertaining. Real blood and guts up. You remember the fight with Roy Gums. Anyone who was there would never forget it. The fight with Errol Christie as well. The Simpson fight. He really has been in some great battles, Kaylor, but how much is there left? That's one of the questions that will be answered tonight. Kaylor in the claret and blue that he's worn throughout his career, the claret and blue, of course, of West Ham.
I think what makes it appear to be going to be a very good fight is the fact that both these guys are very, very determined and both very gritty. So we know we're going to get both guys trying the very, very best, which has all the means of being a great fight.
Well, they're just putting the gloves on in the ring here. Kaylor, still trained by Jimmy Tibbs. He was, of course, managed by Terry Lawless. Now, officially, he manages himself. He still works in the Terry Lawless gym, but he's self-managed officially. Jimmy Tibbs, though, is the trainer. Just gloving them up here. Kaylor, an ABA champion and an Olympic quarter finalist as an amateur, and Cook here, one of the, well, only two men who hold a victory over Michael Watson.
That's right. At different times in his career, although people said he was a journeyman, he has proven that he is a quality fighter.
Brian Lawrence there on the right of the picture, Harry Holland on the left. Very tense, nervy moments these for the fighters. They'll have warmed up in the dressing room, and really they just can't wait to get this started. And now we have all these preliminaries. They're not as protracted as you get in, say, a big fight in Las Vegas, but the time is being spun out. How will the fighters feel like this?
It's the worst possible time just now, because you're in the ring, and when you get in the ring you just want to get on with your business, and then you've got to do the gloving up and that sort of thing. I hate this part. Your nerves are there, you know the crowd's watching you, you just want to get on with it.
There's been talk that the winner here will fight the new IBF champion, and you saw him win the title on the Ringside Series here on Sky Sports, Darren Van Horn. That is a distinct possibility for later in the year for the winner of this European title fight. The WBC champion, by the way, is the former European title holder Mauro Galvano, who won a rather disputed decision over Kaylor here. Let's get the ring announcements now for this big fight, top of the bill at the York Hall tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Harry Holland and Winners Worldwide Boxing Promotions, in association with Cedric Kushner, present live on ringside a contest of 12 3-minute rounds to decide the Super Middleweight Championship of Europe. Your officials appointed for this contest by the European Boxing Union are the supervisor in charge, Mr. Ray Clark of the British Boxing Board of Control, London. The judges, Mr. Adrian Morgan from Wales, Mr. Billy Rafferty from Scotland. The referee is Mr. Mickey Van from Leeds. Introducing in the blue corner, the challenger from West Ham, wearing the clarets and blue trunks,
tremendous support here for Kaylor, as always, in East London.
And in the red corner, from Peckham, wearing the black trunks, the Super Middleweight Champion of Europe, James Cook.
The reception for Cook in sharp contrast.
At the weigh-in at 1 o'clock today, Kaylor scaled 11 stone 13 pounds, Cook 11 stone 12 pounds. Your timekeeper for this contest, Mr. Tommy Rice.
So all the preliminaries are just about over. The now traditional eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation as they get the final instructions from referee Mickey Van, who will score the fight, along with two judges, Adrian Morgan of Wales, Billy Rafferty of Scotland. Referee and two judges to score it. 12 rounds for the European Super Middleweight Championship. Mark Kaylor, who seems to have been around in London about as long as the mousetrap to me, and the claret and blue, James Cook, defending the title in the black trunks. Kaylor is is a real pressure fighter. You see him coming forward all the time. Caught there by the left of Cook on the way in.
Kaylor's come straight out to have a bit of a war, straight into it, and he's just got to be a little bit careful that he doesn't get caught when he's cold.
Clipped with another right there by Cook. But Kaylor is one of those fighters who's hardly taken a backward step throughout his career. No counter puncher he. Cook snapping out his jab. Of course, he's on a bit of a roll, Cook. His confidence will have been boosted tremendously by having won those 2 titles, though he now has relinquished the British Championship. Just holding on to the European and hoping, maybe, for a shot at the Worlds as well. But this big obstacle, and it's a voluntary defence here by Cook. He's gambling a little bit.
I think that might show something towards Cook's confidence, that he's took this fight straight away. He obviously felt very, very confident winning the European title and doing it in such good fashion.
There's a nice punches close in by Cook. Short little left and a right uppercut. Now that's the punch you have to watch. And I think just for a moment as one of those landed, Kaylor's legs just did stiffen, but look at him. He wants to go to war with Cook here.
It certainly did. Kaylor's legs did a little bump they made then just as that uppercut landed.
He's landed with 4 of them already. 4 right uppercuts, Cook. Classy punch. These two have sparred dozens of rounds together, and Cook was just brought in as the opponent, as it were, for those sparring sessions when Kaylor was preparing for his big fights back in the middle of the 80s. Caught by a right this time. Impressive start from the champion.
This is the sort of start that makes it look that it's not going to go 12 rounds. Obviously they know each other, so there's no real feeling out. They've done a lot of sparring together, so they're straight into action.
No, I don't think there's any real animosity or anything like that between these two. They were mates in the past, and Cook is a hard man to hate. He's a very amiable fellow. But that friendship will be forgotten for the next 3/4 of an hour or so.
I think they obviously both respect each other as good, solid pros.
Coming up then to the closing seconds of this first round. It's been a pretty good first round for Cook. He looks nice and confident, in control. Kaylor hasn't done too much himself. And the first round to Cook. Remember, it's due to go 12 here. Welcome back. Mark Kaylor just has a little graze by the side of his right eye and underneath. Nothing serious at the moment. He has been known to cut once or twice before. They're putting plenty of grease on his face. Action from round 1. That good right from Cook there. And there were a few uppercuts as well. I think he will have won the first round on all 3 scorecards. Could be wrong, but that's the way it looked to us anyway. Second round, European super middleweight title. Kaylor in the claret and blue of West Ham. Cook also a Londoner, defending the title. Good shots again there from Cook. Busy. Nice short punches that don't travel very far close in. Kaylor coming back with a left hook himself and still wanting to apply the pressure. Seems to want to lean on a lot close in and deny Cook leverage, Kaylor.
He's doing that, but he's also getting too close to get leverage to his own shots. And he's leaning over Cook and allowing Cook to come up with that good right uppercut.
In the past, I used to think sometimes Kaylor was a little underestimated as a boxer. He could sometimes work quite nicely behind his jab and then follow it in with a right. He's not certainly trying anything like that tonight. I don't think he's thrown a jab hardly so far.
Well, that's always been a thing with Kaylor's fight. He likes a fight, and he can box, and he is quite a good boxer. But he likes to get in there and he likes to mix it. And sometimes that's been good for him. Sometimes it's been his undoing.
One of the big questions here is how ring-worn, how shot-worn has Kaylor become? He's 2 years younger, but he's had twice as many fights as Cook. So in boxing terms, Cook is a younger, fresher man.
He looks the fresher at the minute. Kaylor seems to be getting caught with some punches, and he does seem to be sagging a little bit. He looks as if he has a cut now in his left eye.
Cut by the side of the left eye for Kaylor. and he's been caught by those rope uppercuts, and he's being elbowed around inside the clinch. He's getting with a few body shots of his own and working away with a couple of uppercuts himself, but the sharper, more impressive work has come from Cook so far, and that blood starts to flow a little thicker by the left eye. Two of them really trading punches here close in. And I told you earlier that Kaylor went for blood and guts thrillers, and that's what we're getting.
Well, absolute thriller at the moment. Fabulous fight. Cook just seems to have the better rhythm in there. He's working away with hooks and uppercuts a little better.
Kaylor there landed with one of his best shots, a right over the top. Good punch from him. Throw back to his earlier career when he was on the way up and world ranked as a middleweight. Cook is going to have to work for this, but he knows that. He'll have known it in the build-up because Kaylor's very career is on the line here. He'll give it everything. Good counter-punching off the ropes there by Cook, though. Excellent work from him. Turning Kaylor as well. That was an impressive burst from Cook, who looks much improved and quite polished here. Kaylor is applying tremendous pressure, leaning on close in. He wants it to make it a close quarter brawl all the way through, but he's got the cut as well. And for me in that second round, Cook again did the more impressive work and probably took round 2 as well. What did you think, Glenn?
I think he did. He's getting away. He's getting the closer, the best shots in close. He's coming up with some good work on the retreat. Although Kaylor is leaning into him, pushing forward, Cook's coming back with the better counters, nice uppercuts, nice hooks. And at 1 or 2 stages, Kaylor did seem to be staggered a little bit.
Well, they're working on that cut by the left eye. Here's James Cook, unmarked. He's started off very well here. There he is from Peckham. 24 fights, 16 wins and 8 defeats. A lot of those defeats have come away from home. He was on the road a lot, taking fights for money, but now he's in a bigger league, and he suddenly is the man who's being groomed for stardom, albeit at the age of 32. Lives in Hackney with his wife and 4 children, and as his manager Harry Holland says, you won't catch him down the disco. Super dedicated, fanatical trainer. Little delay to the start of the round. Mickey Van, the referee, wants some blood, or grease I think it is. They've got too much grease by that eye, and Jimmy Tips there is being ordered to wipe some of it away. Start of the 3rd round. And we've had plenty of action in the first 2 already. Cook, the champion, the European champion in the black trunks.
This sort of fighting that they're doing in the middle seems just to suit Cook a little better at this moment. He's getting the better shots off. He's getting the nice hooks, nice uppercuts. I think Kaylor could do is step back and get a little bit more leverage into his jab and his right hand.
Kaylor leaning all the time, and Mickey Van there also, or almost took a right hand from Cook there. Brave man to step in as the punches were flying. Kaylor's tactics, he wants to turn it into a close quarter brawl. Ramming home a good left to the body there, Kaylor. Just looking to wear Cook down, erode away the championship belt from him. But Cook's having none of it. 2 chopping little right hands and the uppercut as well. Back comes Kaylor with the left hook. It's not a pretty sight, the tactics of Kaylor here, but he's hoping it'll pay off in the long run. He will have trained, I would think, very, very hard for this one. Because as I've said before, if he loses it, there might not be very many places to go.
From sparring with Cook that much, maybe Kaylor knows that he maybe thinks that Cook will wilt a little bit if he sets the pace. That seems to be what he's doing. Whether that'll work, I'm not sure.
Two of them both still pretty busy though, working inside. Kaylor, of course, veteran of 4 previous European title attempts. So landed with a right there, and he's got Cook on the ropes, and there's a good left hook. Good shots here. Look at the 2 of them trading. What a fight this is turning out to be.
Kaylor got some of his best success there.
Big little right in there inside, and what a nice uppercut again. Very impressive shot that is from Cook. Watch the heads, says referee Mickey Van. I have to watch that with Kaylor. Just cut a little bit about one of his eyes. But this, so far, is fast and very grueling. Last 20 seconds or so of the third round. Every punch Kaylor lands is being cheered to the echo by his West Ham supporters in this crowd. £75 they paid for their ringside seats as well tonight. There it is, great third round here, and a great fight. Still putting some grease by that cut left eye of Kaylor. 47 fights, 40 wins, 6 defeats and a draw in an 11-year career for Mark Kaylor. Fourth round. Kaylor probably had his best round so far in the third, and he keeps up the pressure. Cook, though, now coming back with his combinations, a little right to the head from him as well. Cook, 32 years of age, no spring chicken himself. That's a good right from him over the top, and the uppercut as well. Kaylor had to take those.
Both men are landing with fabulous shots. The fight swaying one way and then the other. At the end of that round, Kaylor just seemed to get his range and catch Cook with a good right hand, left hook. And then now Cook started off very good himself.
You get the feeling that there's more variety about Cook's work. He looks the better boxer of the two, doesn't he, by quite some distance.
When he lets his shots go, he lets them go with both hands, and they flow from right to left, and it doesn't give Kaylor a chance to really, get steady. He works a lot better inside. Kaylor has got to rely on that long right hand and the left hook.
That's a good right again from Cook. Nice repertoire he's got. Short little punches when they work in close, and that lovely uppercut he's developed. Kaylor pressuring him all the time, leaning on, trying to wear him down. That cut's no worse by the left eye. That's the view you'd get if you were, well, almost like referee Mickey Van. And a good right again over the top, and then another right cross again from Cook. Twice he landed with those. Kaylor, in truth, has never been the most elusive of fighters. Oh, that was a fair right, though. Jolting right from Kaylor. Cook rather walked onto that. But can Kaylor keep up this pressure in his 48th fight? Will the pace he set end up defeating him?
You need a great deal of conditioning to fight like this for 12 rounds, because it's a very physical fight. There's lots of good punches going in, and also lots of pushing and shoving and pulling, and that takes an awful lot out of you to do that for a few rounds. But it's certainly the thriller that everybody expected.
Kaylor hardly knows how to be in a boring fight. There's thrillers with the likes of Tony Simpson and Harold Graham, Tom Collins when he got beaten for the European light heavyweight title. Old-fashioned look between them at the end of the fourth round. Welcome back. Sky Sports live from the York Hall in Bethnal Green, and what's proving to be a superb fight here for the European super middleweight title. There's that right from Kaylor in the last round. That was one of his best shots so far. Cook rather walked onto it. Jimmy Tibbs there, urging his man on, motivating him. Fifth round, and these European title fights go 12. I have Cook ahead so far, but the issue is, of course, by no means decided. There's the colour check for you, Cook in the black trunks.
It'll be very interesting to see how the judges score this fight, because it's constantly swaying from one man to the other. I have Cook ahead, but it's a fabulous fight.
That's a lovely right over the top by Cook. It's just a slip by Kaylor. It won't be counted as a knockdown. It certainly wasn't. He just lost his balance. Bit of blood coming from the mouth as well of Kaylor. They were a bit worried about that between the rounds. But this man just digs deeper and deeper and deeper into his wells of courage. And that's why the crowds have loved him over the last decade.
Well, it's great to see a fighter who always gives value for money. You know, people respect that. And Kaylor always did, win or lose. It was always a great fight he was in.
Yeah, the fight with Errol Christie, when they were both on the floor twice before Kaylor won it, would go down, I think, in anybody's top 5 British fights of the 1980s.
I think that fight was that tough that really it stopped Errol Christie becoming a great fighter, because he just never, it was just such a tough fight for him. He never recovered from that.
Kaylor scoring significantly with a couple of rights, notably the uppercut, and Cook there on the ropes and taking a few. Kaylor is still there, still pitching. What a story it would be if he could lift this European title. Everybody thought it was all over for him when he went off to America to try and rebuild his career after the defeat by Tom Collins in 1988 for the light heavyweight title. We thought we'd seen the last of him, but back he's come. And it would be quite a comeback if he was to win here. Cook just breathing now a little more heavily. He's been made to work very, very hard. Surely they can't keep up this relentless pace for 12 rounds.
It just shows their remarkable conditioning. They must have worked very, very hard for this fight.
Two of them just, I think, happy there to take a little 3-second breather. Back they get to work though, and oh, those good punches there. Cook putting them together well. Lefts and rights to the head. Last few seconds coming up then of the 5th round. Tremendous scrap for this European title, and more of it still to come here live on Sky Sports. Welcome back to the York Hall, Bethnal Green. This is Mark Kaylor, 30 years of age now, in his 5th European title attempt. And they've done a very, very good job indeed in the corner on that left eye. The blood is not flowing at all, and happily, I don't think we're going to get a stoppage on that particular cut unless it opens up badly again. Out they come for the 6th round. James Cook, the European super middleweight champion at 12 stone in the black shorts here, up against Mark Kaylor, star of British boxing for the last 10 or 11 years. Looking to bring back the good times.
Cook seems to be having the best of the work at long range as well. He was getting the better punches off close in, and he also seems to be teeing Kaylor off a little bit at long range as well.
In Kaylor's first attempt to lift this title against Mario Galvano, he came very close. That was a good right from Cook in there. In fact, it was a disputed decision. And Galvano's gone on to become WBC champion, so that's the way it goes in boxing. Kaylor scoring with the jab that time. Good punches again from Cook. That fanatical training he does paying off here. He's landing with some good shots in this round. Really putting the punches together well, not so much coming back from Kaylor, and he looked a bit unsteady on his feet there. He was rocked his knees backward by that right, and you wonder if Kaylor is coming towards the end of his tether.
He certainly looked hurt there. Cook got through with several good punches. Right at the end of it, he just wobbled a bit.
15 punches maybe unanswered. Somebody throws a bit of paper out of vision into the ring there, for what reason I couldn't begin to describe. Oh, Cook here is starting here to take control in a fairly significant way in the 6th round. Kaylor comes back again. I don't know where he finds it from sometimes.
He has such brilliant determination. When he looks so under pressure, is when he comes back so good. He's a very determined boy.
But he's beginning to tire, Kaylor, and he's beginning to tire perhaps significantly. This 6th round may just go down as the start of the end for him, or will Kaylor prove us all wrong? Cook really has put together some very, very good work, like that. And then a right. Kaylor is covering up, and a towel has been put in. They've thrown in the towel. Mickey Van is trying to pull Kaylor off the corner. Have thrown in the towel. You're not officially allowed to do that. The referee should stop the fight. Does Kaylor want to be stopped? We have some controversy here that Jimmy Tibbs threw in the towel. That was surrender. What it means is that James Cook is still the European super middleweight champion, and presumably after what was a very impressive performance, a world title opportunity beckons for him at 32. It's a British boxing fairy tale, this one. If you told somebody 3 years ago that James Cook would be in a world title fight, they'd have laughed in your face. For Kaylor, it may be the end of the line. He really did try everything he knew here, but what he knew at the age of 30 and in his 48th fight wasn't quite enough for this resurgent James Cook. And you take your hat off to him. There's Kaylor. Sad sight. But I think the decision from the corner, Glenn, was they didn't want to see him get badly hurt.
I think it was a good decision. Kaylor wasn't very happy with it, but you know, that's because he's such a game guy. But I think it was a good decision. The corner obviously looking out for him. I can't say anything bad against it.
So James Cook, there is Terry Lawless, the old manager of Kaylor, coming over for a sympathetic word. I wonder if he realises it just might be the last we see of Kaylor in the ring.
After 2 minutes 40 seconds of the 6th round, the referee has accepted Mark Kaylor's retirement. The winner and undefeated super middleweight champion of Europe, James Cook.
Well done, James Cook. This is a story really like that Dennis Andrews story, a man who lost plenty, but whose dedication in the end has paid off. And every penny he earns, I say good luck to him, and I hope there are plenty more. As for Kaylor, he has been one of the great value for money fighters.
Supervisor to present the championship belt to James Cook.
Ray Clark there, the former secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control. Simon Block as well from the board, and they're putting that European belt back around Cook's waist, and it's a sweet moment for him. Harry Holland whispers words of encouragement in his ears, and Harry Holland, give him credit, because since he went to Harry Holland, Cook's career has been turned around. There's poor Mark Kaylor. Mickey Duff, words of consolation. What a sad sight that is. But this fellow has no need to feel any sadness. Gary Richardson is going to have a word with him. Let's have a word, Gary.
Mark,
with Mark
commiserations. You're obviously very upset at the way it ended.
We've gone on forever.
Mark, can you talk about it at the moment?
Of course I'm upset.
Okay, let's just have a word with Jimmy Tibbs. Jimmy, I think you obviously did that for Mark's own good there, ending it when you did.
Well, yeah, getting caught a few times, and I thought it was the right time to pull him out. I was going to give him 1 round, I was going to talk to him at the end of the round, but for another half a minute, it didn't make that much difference.
And just one word, I know it's obviously a difficult time to ask you, what would you see for Mark's future now? Possibly retirement?
We'll talk about that later on.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
So, well, they'll think about it. They've got to have time to think about that. But I'm afraid we now have a bit of argy-bargy going on behind us here with 1 or 2 fans. And this is the kind of scene we definitely don't need. And I think it's just a minority, and it's quickly been brought under control. And I'm glad to hear that. I think 1 or 2 of the Kaylor fans who may have had just a little bit too much to drink, just causing a bit of a scuffle behind us. Nothing too much to worry about, I'm glad to say. Well, in a moment we'll try to get a word with the champion, James Cook. So we're having all sorts of dramas here. We do not need that kind of silliness. I must say boxing crowds are normally very, very well behaved. That was just a little scuffle and nothing more than that. If we go up into the ring, I think we can have a word with the European super middleweight champion, still the champion, James Cook. He's talking now to Gary
James,
Richardson.
many congratulations indeed. That was some performance by you.
Thank you. Well, it's some performance by me for the last 4 fights. You know, I just decided I refuse to get beat by nobody at all, because a lot of guys beat me and they shouldn't beat me, you know. And when me and my trainer sit down and talk, you know, we just decided to get ourselves together, and he keep telling me I must believe in myself. John Harry said believe in myself, and I just have to believe in myself and put it together, you know.
A word about Mark Kaylor. It was a brave performance by him.
Believe me, people were saying to me that Mark Kaylor is gone. He's not the same Mark Kaylor, but I sparred with Mark Kaylor probably 5-6 years ago, and I predicted each time Mark Kaylor was going to beat Harold Christy Rygums and a couple of Americans, and he did. I knew he was brave. Believe me, he's one of the bravest men in boxing. And I knew tonight, all I have to do was to stay with Mark, keep him at bay. The distance was no problem, the stamina was no problem. All I knew tonight was just keep him at bay, stay with him, and hit him when I want, you know.
Why suddenly at this stage in your career are things suddenly going so right for you?
Management and basically faith in my trainer, believe me, you know, and management, you know, sit down with the management, and the first time we have sort of something work together, you know, he would take step at a time. Before it was just James, you fight in America, well, not in America, Paris, France, Germany, places like that, didn't know what the opponent was like. It was unlucky luck, but I never complain, I never moan, you know.
Well, let's have a word with your manager, Harry Holland. I suppose he's almost a slightly younger version of Dennis Andrews, isn't he?
That's right, Gary. That's Dennis Andrews Mark 2, except it is James Cook Mark 1. Believe me, Gary, you know, I've always had faith in the fella. He's always been a good fighter. I watched him from a kid. We're going after the world title now. Hopefully Van Horn we're looking at. We're talking to Cordova's people sometime probably in October. We hope if things go right. But I'm going to put out all the stops for him.
Which one would you actually prefer? We saw Darren Van Horn on Sky Sports a couple of weeks ago. He looked a good performer.
Van Horn was... We're not going to hang around. We're going after a world title.
And just a word on Mark Kaylor. He's been a great ambassador for British boxing. Would you feel now that's possibly the end of his career tonight?
Yes, I think Mark has been an absolute ambassador for the sport, as you say, been a credit to the game. But I think Mark's got nothing else to prove. He went out the same way that he boxed before. He's a fantastic sportsman, and we give Mark Kaylor all the best. And we wish him all the best. If he does decide whatever he does, if he does retire, we wish him all the best.
I must just ask you one other thing as a promoter of this fight, Harry. We've seen a good fight in the ring, but there were very, very ugly scenes outside of the ring.
Absolutely disgusting, Gary. Absolutely disgusting. None of us like that. This is about the general art. You just see two fellas there, fought their hearts out and love one another after. This is rubbish. We don't want this in a game. We don't want those people to come to support us. I'm sorry.
But I think it's something that perhaps the British Boxing Board of Control might take up with you as a promoter. Any comment on that?
No, only we had enough style here. As you see now, it's quieting down as quickly as possible. We could do it. I don't think too many people hurt too much, thank Christ. But as I said before, we don't, you know, Winners Worldwide Promotions and everyone, we don't encourage that sort of thing at all.
Okay, Harry, thank you very much indeed, and congratulations to James once more.
Thank you, Gary.
So James Cook, tremendous performance from him. He really did put the punches together well. Kaylor by the 6th round had taken rather too much. Now I think we can have a look back on the 6th round, Glenn, here, and by this stage Kaylor was starting to wilt. His legs buckled from one of these punches, and Cook really did put together a very impressive array indeed. There you are, Kaylor sagging back against the ropes there, the right over the top. He slipped a couple, and that's where the towel came in. You could see it coming in.
And he was under pressure. He was taking some good shots. I thought that was a good act by the corner. You know, Kaylor wasn't going to win. Cook was beating him to everything. He was beating him to the shots inside, beating him at distance, and it was a good decision. A good right hand there from Cook.
And it rather had the feel about it of a sort of predestined decision by the corner, that they felt as if Kaylor was going to take too much in this fight. They were going to pull him out of it. They didn't want him going away with his health damaged.
That's right. They didn't want to see him, you know, take any kind. He's had a long career, 47 fights, and at the end of it, the last thing you want is to see him get really hurt. And they did it was a good decision. And Cook fought fabulous, and it looks like it'll be a great fight if he fights Van Horn, because that would give him a great chance.
Yeah, Cook against Van Horn, that would be a very good fight. As for Kaylor, I think those little tearful scenes as he was trying to explain what happened to Gary there, and the words just wouldn't come. Well, one of the saddest sights I've seen, and possibly the end of an 11-year career where, well, things didn't always go superbly for Mark Kaylor, but what entertainment he gave us, and maybe there's more entertainment to come from this fellow, James Cook.
Welcome back to ringside. We promised you a pretty emotional evening at the Bethnal Green, York Hall, and I think in every sense we've lived up to that promise. Let's concentrate on what happened in the ring, Gary Mason. The emotion is clear.
Well, you see, what the thing was there, Mark Kaylor, you know, he's the sort of person that he's going to fight to the death, yeah? That's why you think was the main weapon in this fight.
Now, we knew what we were going to get from Kaylor. Total commitment, he's a battle-hardened pro. But what about the credit for the reigning champion, Cook?
Well, Cook, in all credit, he's someone that's come on late. He's now gotten the chance to do things, and he's not going to let his title just slip just like that. He fought a very good fight, remember, against all the odds and under the conditions today. So I think Cook deserves a lot of credit for that win as well.
Now, you've got to also put it, Gary, finally into the context of the reigning world champions, the IBF Van Horn, there's Galvano WBA and Cordova the WBC. Is he a world champion possibly?
No, it's hard to make that sort of comparison until you see him fight someone who we all know who's of world class and who is like debatably one of the best, and if he can come off with that, then we can take him all the way.
Okay, Gary, so you're slightly reserving judgment, aren't you?
Yes.
Thanks very much indeed for being with us tonight again, Gary. Now listen, before we leave you, just need to tell you about the tremendous action lined up for next week in the ringside programme. Another classic event, Virgil Hill making his 11th defence of the WBA light heavyweight title, and the man he faces, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, the amazing fighter from Detroit, already 5 times a world champion at different weights. Something to look forward to next Saturday at our new summertime of 10 p.m. Gary, just quickly, top fight.
Yes.
Hearns,
a very good fight. I was just panicking there because I nearly got involved. I was thinking about it. Sorry about that.
It's been a bit like that, folks.
Yes. Okay, Thomas Hearns and Virgil Hill. I say Thomas Hearns for the one last time.
You do, you strongly think that, don't you?
Yes.
Thanks very much for being with us tonight. Thanks very much to you at home as well for being with us. We're going to leave you now from the York Hall with Bethnal Green. Mark Kaylor has proved that life sort of goes on at the age of 30, and for Jimmy Cook at the age of 32, boxing life is only just about to begin.